Joel.
Here.
Barth is absent. White.
Here.
Hinderman present. Bowden.
Here.
And Andrews is absent. Thank you.
Aaron, proof of giving public notice?
Yep, notices were posted at both schools, sent to Village of Dickeyville, Cuba City City Hall, and members of the media on Monday, July 14th, 2025.
Consideration of the consent agenda. Does anyone want any items to be pulled for discussion?
Hearing none, I'll take a motion.
Go ahead.
Okay, I'll move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Schweigert.
Yes.
Joel.
Yes.
White.
Yes.
Hinderman, yes. Bowden.
Yes.
All right. Motion carried.
Great. We'll start with administrative reports. Jason.
That's quick. Keep up with my notes. All right. Our summer school program was again very successful. Event shared by 375 students between band lessons, K through 12 health and fitness, strength and conditioning, and a variety of learning experiences in the summer school class selections. Very thankful to those families and students for the participation. And then once again, we just had outstanding support. Our summer school coordinators, Jessica and Jesse, really shined. Having only experienced last year in that sense, I can't imagine it's ever gone smoother than it did this year. It was just fantastic. They did a great job. Summer school staff were fabulous with the many fun and engaging lessons and activity choices. The maintenance and custodial staff worked around many of the obstacles with summer school, along with just other projects going on, and maintained our building well. And Davis Bus Lines provided effective and safe services for our students and families throughout. We want to extend a special thank you to Town and Country Kids 4-H Club, as members and parents provided and served ice cream for all students and staff on the last day of summer school. Just a reminder to everyone to support our community families and 4-H groups as they showcase their many talents at the local county fairs this summer. I want to thank Miss Jenna Ekstrom for her fulfillment of the one-year 4K teacher position this past year. We wish her the best as she transitions to a personal venture of service to our community families. Also, thank you to Ms. Sophie Sander and Ms. Cassidy Ripatella for their dedication and outstanding accomplishment in their roles as the elementary art teacher and 4K teacher, respectively, last year. We're very excited about the new roles that they're undertaking within our building as Ms. Sander transitions into a 4K teacher and Ms. Ripatella transitions into a special ed teacher position. I want to extend a warm welcome to the following new teachers at CCES. Ms. Katie Schrader as a 5K teacher, Ms. Taylor Westemeyer as a 4K teacher, and after the board meeting, hopefully, Ms. Kate Eshelman as the elementary art teacher. We're very excited about the candidates that we had apply for positions this year. And Ms. Jordan Hinderman and myself attended a mental health resource training titled Brain Spotting last week, supported through grant funding by local agencies. Brain Spotting is a therapy resource utilizing personal attunement and a somatic cue to guide therapeutic work with individuals to address trauma and work towards personal homeostasis. Working with local agencies and therapists, we connected with other local educators, law enforcement personnel, and counselors in the area to learn about the science and practice of this mental health resource. I'm looking forward to being able to implement that where it fits.
Thank you, Jason.
Yep.
Anybody have any questions for Jason? Middle and high school report, Chris?
You bet. Thank you to Cameron, Adam, Brian, Kyle, David, and John as the high school and middle school look amazing. Well, at least in the areas that are not getting currently remodeled. Thank you also to our high school students who have been helping. Maddox Rudgerman, Caleb Timmerman, and Brooklyn Brewer have been busy helping to make sure that everything is getting clean. I'd like to welcome Ms. Cecilia Reneker as our new high school Spanish and district ELL support teacher, and Mr. Daniel Merwin as our new middle school math teacher. We are excited for all that this new school year is going to bring. Thank you to Julie Kaiser, Ashley Blonick, Jesse Dinar, and Jessica Luker. They, along with help from Tina Burkett, Cameo Updike Ames, and Angie Davis, have things already to go in Power School. so that our families can begin signing up. Power School will go live next Monday, July 21st, for the 25-26 school year. I want to thank Ms. Rudgman, Ms. Slatt, and Ms. Mern for their work with students on credit recovery over the past 5 weeks. We offer this for our students who may need it during summer school. Ms. Van Scandal's students have been busy now that we're in the season of showing livestock at the various fairs. I was able to attend Lafayette County Fair and watch our students show lambs. We had several students participate in showing swine, lambs, dairy, beef, and poultry for our FFA chapter. In swine, Karina Pitson had the champion gilt and was the supreme swine showman. Dia Christ had the grand champion lamb, while Morgan Van Scandal had the champion white-faced lamb and earned the supreme sheep showman. Allie Ingersoll had the 5th overall lamb. Hannah Albert represented Cuba City as she was crowned the fairest of the fair and also as a supreme poultry showman. Also showing sheep for FFA were Izzy Denard, Lily Denard, Easton Schmidt, and Ashlyn Link. Cale Gustafson, Lauren Gustafson, and Brandon Coulthard showed sheep for 4-H. Also looking forward to hearing stories about them all surviving the storms that came through on Thursday and Friday. Congratulations to our boys golf team. Several of our students were recognized as the 2025 Academic All-State. To be honored, students have to maintain a GPA of 3.25 or higher. They have to participate in a minimum of 75% of the varsity competition during the season, and they have to be in good standing regarding athletic and school code of conduct. And then they also have to be a sophomore, junior, or senior. Our honorees this year were Nico Sokachov, Hudson Keeler, Isaac Wigman, Landon Leffelholtz, and Benjamin Thill. Congratulations to Coach Guy Kopp, as he has been recognized as an inductee of the 2026 Wisconsin Football Coaches Association Hall of Fame. Formal induction ceremony will take place in Madison on Saturday, April 18th, 2026. Coach Kopp will be recognized along with 11 other coaches as the 26th Hall of Fame class. And then the last thing that I have, another favor of the board, we have one last foreign exchange student that came in 2:00 on Tuesday afternoon. So with your permission, I would like to be able to sign so that she can get her visa in order and be ready for our school year, but then we will bring that to the August meeting to.
That's not the one that's on the agenda today.
Will
Yeah,
that give us 3 for
that'll be
this?
3 and that's where we'll cap it at.
Where would this one be from?
Also Germany. I didn't read the package to know exactly where in Germany. The other one's from Hamburg, but I don't believe that they're close to each other. So we'll have 2 from Germany and 1 from Italy.
Any questions for Chris? Is the board comfortable with him signing off on that?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Special Education Director for Wendy?
Yes. This school year, we are moving our 504 plans to an online platform, ADA for Schools or ADAPT. The system is a sister of SEEDS. SEEDS is the online platform the district uses for IEPs. The ADA for Schools provides legally reviewed forms for evaluation and annual plans, forms and process suggestions that parallel the special education process, confidential format for need-to-know access, and reports for easily compiling and sharing accommodations. We're excited for this because then all of them will be in one central location. So in the spec ed world, July 15th is a big day. That's when our rollover in SEEDS happens. So that happened yesterday. It's an annual process that updates the system for the new school year. It involves archiving old data, cleaning up student records, and updating grade levels, among other things. This ensures that the system is ready for the upcoming school year's data and evaluations. In the next few weeks, I will create caseloads for my special education teachers, itinerant lists, which is speech and language, OT, and PT, and changing environmental codes for students that are transitioning from early childhood to kindergarten. I actually got most of these done today, so I was glad to check that off my list. I would like to welcome Dylan Redfern and Julia to the Cuba City Middle School Special Education staff for the 25-26 school year. I would also like to thank Jesse Denard and Tina Burkett for preparing for the Power School rollover that occurred on June 11th. The end of the year process is similar to that of SEEDS. It's closing out the current school year in Power School and preparing the system for the next school year. It involves transferring student data, updating student grade levels, and the schools for the upcoming school year. I know that this takes a lot of their time and it was very stressful for them. So I'm glad that that is finished for them. So thank you for your continuous work throughout the summer months to make that an easy rollover.
Thanks, Whitney. Questions for Whitney? You're up, Heather, business manager report.
Just an update on the 24-25 fiscal year. So June is now past. And as of Monday, we had spent about 86% of our Fund 10 budget. Throughout the entire month of July, I'm still paying old year bills. Hopefully none appear in August, but if some appear in August, we have to pay them on the old year. So I'll have a better idea of how we ended the fiscal year sometime in August. An update on our Fund 49 account or our referendum account. In the month of June, our revenue totaled $376,109.25. Our expenses for the month were $376,094.70. And our balance at the end of the month was $5,651.90. In other news, thanks to Melissa Gilstrap, the district received a special education incentive grant for about $3,800. Whitney Casper and I completed a special education high cost claim resulting in a little more than $36,000 for the district. This was about $16,000 more than what we had budgeted, so that's great news. Thanks to Nancy Merwin for her work with the incentive grant. The district received a little more than $19,000 for the incentive grant. Final open enrollment numbers are available. For the 24-25 fiscal year, our net open enrollment was a little more than $432,000. This is about 50 FTEs. Keep in mind that regular ed and special ed students, the cost or what we receive from other districts or what we pay to other districts, it's different.
Also, 4K is only 60%.
And 4K is only 60%, correct? The good news, this is great news, because this is a 10% increase from last year's open enrollment, net open enrollment. If you've turned on the news at all, you may have heard that on July 3rd, the governor's 25-27 state budget was signed and passed. So some key takeaways, I think it's important for not only the board members to know, but also the community, and I'll get to the why it's important in a moment. Funding for regular ed open enrollment students will increase by $1,140 for the 25-26 fiscal year, and by an additional $928 for the 26-27 fiscal year. So if our numbers stay, our open enrollment numbers stay where they're at, this is a very positive thing for the school district. Funding for special ed open enrollment will increase by $640 for the 25-26 fiscal year, and by an additional $428 for the 26-27 fiscal year. Again, if our open enrollment numbers stay where they're at, this is a positive thing for the district. Funding for students that attend voucher and charter schools will increase by $640 for the 25-26 fiscal year, and by $428 for the 26-27 fiscal year. This is an expense for the district, so this is a negative for us. This is something that was new. It began 2 years ago, and over the last 2 years, that expense line has doubled. I can't tell you how many of our students go to these voucher schools. DPI won't tell you.
we just basically see a line item that says, here's your expense. So this year it was a little more than $56,000. So I look for that to continue to increase. Funding for special ed reimbursement will increase to 42% for the 25-26 fiscal year and 45% in the 26-27 fiscal year. These are targeted percentages. The actual reimbursement could be lower. For example, in the 24-25 fiscal year, the intended reimbursement was 33%, but it actually was 30.64%. This is a very big deal for our school district. We spend about $1.85 million in special ed. When you remove expenses that aren't aidable or that relate to a grant, we spend about $1.5 million. So if it increases from 30% to 42%, that's an additional $185,000 for the district. But we're spending that money, but we're just getting reimbursed. Just let's keep that in mind. Reimbursement for high cost special ed. This is for an individual student when they have costs over $30,000. That is also increasing. So that is a positive for the school district. The state decided to remove the $325 per pupil revenue. So districts will or can now offset this loss in state revenue by increasing local property taxes. I know Mr. Olson's going to talk a little bit more about that. While the state budget has many positives for the school district, it doesn't come without challenges. Keep in mind that when we ran our April operating referendum, we ran it based on the knowledge that we had at that time. So our knowledge at that time included the $325 per pupil for the next 400 years, 400. And that now has been removed. So that's a loss of about $200,000 every single fiscal year for our school district. And how, again, schools will have to offset that is by increasing local property taxes, or you can choose to. Really quick napkin math that Aaron and I did. Yes, we're losing that revenue, but some of the other things like the open enrollment and the special ed reimbursement, we're hoping that those positives can offset this negative amount. There's lots of other things that changed in the budget. Those are just some of the key takeaways from my perspective. So I am currently taking our budget model and making changes to our budget model to see if everything that we had in there like last April and just making those changes based on like all the July 3rd changes from the state, what does that now do to our budget for next year? So I'm working on that, and then continuing to try to close out last fiscal year so that I can prepare for our upcoming audit in a few weeks. That's all I have.
Thanks, Heather.
Did your-
We're digging into all of
Did
that.
your 87% include salaries, or does that need to be added to that for what you're paying out?
86%
86% of the fiscal year, does that include those? or
All
no?
of the summer payrolls
Is
have
included in
been,
that?
yes.
For the August meeting, would you be able to have a new budget by then? Or
Maybe they have that done sometime in late September.
late September?
First draft. We've
Okay.
I
got,
mean,
'cause
I
we're
could-
not sure until October 15th on everything, but we usually have a drafts model.
I could have
Gotcha.
I could have a draft, but that's going to be very tight because I have the auditors here the week before.
And Barrett hasn't updated the
So they send me the updates, but then I have to go make all the changes. And the biggest, obviously this is a very big deal right now, our budget model is using what we projected for 24-25 expenses. So once we know last fiscal year's expenses are done, I basically send them a report, so I don't have to like key in all those numbers. So I send them a report, and it usually takes about 2 weeks for them to get it back to me with, here's your final numbers for 24, 25. Okay, then start plugging in your 25, 26 numbers. Yeah, so likely
Probably
not,
not.
yeah, likely not by the August meeting.
Anything else for tonight? All right, Aaron?
Okay, I've got a lot of the same things that Heather had on here, and I'm not going to reiterate all of those are going to depth, but we've got to recognize the state budget is passed. And for us, there were a lot of good parts in that budget. There were also some bad parts, but that's politics. So we ran our referendum and we said, based on the information that we know right now, here's what we expect the mill rate to be at for the next 5 years. And at that time, that was done in good faith, knowing that that $325 per student per year, as it was going to go on for the next 400 years. So the difference now in this budget, the state legislature can't take it out. What they did is they said, we're not going to fund it. So what that means is that schools that need that $325 can tax for it and get it every year. In short, the state wanted to lower your state taxes by increasing your property taxes everywhere throughout Wisconsin. So every school is going to be dealing with that. It's unfortunate that we just passed a referendum and said, here's the mill rate increase that we're expecting. And now they dropped this bomb on us. But like we said, we're going to be closer than some schools based on the numbers, the special ed increases. That's going to be very helpful. And regular the special ed cost and high cost special ed boost. Those are both helpful. Open enrollment increases are going to help us out as we're about plus 50 in open enrollment, and it's about $1,100 more next year. If you hear them talk about sparsity aid now, schools like us are funded at 90 or at 100%, but we've been funded at 99% for the last few years. So that's an increase of $2,400 in the overall budget. So that doesn't help us, but sparsity aid is something very good for schools like us. Mental health investments, we will have a $20,000 mental health grant for 2 years. And we've had this in the past, and we've gotten a middle school counselor, and that opens up our elementary school counselor to do more elementary items and our high school counselor to do more high school. And so we're thankful for that. The voucher and charter funding, private schools and vouchers remain self-sufficient. So they get an increase every year. So we don't get an increase, but the private schools and charter schools get an increase of $174 in year one, and another $174 in year two. Revenue limit increases, that's what we talked about before, where that $325 per student is available if you want to tax for that. And we told our community this is what that mill rate is going to be. We're going to try very hard to keep it at that level if that's at all possible. But when the state changes those rules, that puts a lot of pressure on us to do that. We just want to make sure everybody understands this was a change that no one saw coming, especially not us last April when we ran the referendum. And then just a reminder, the state is sitting on a $4.5 billion fund balance, in case anybody was wondering what we were at there.
Aaron, when you say that we can tax the taxpayers, that amount that we're no longer getting, is there a calculation for how much you can tax then, or?
Yep. So there's a revenue limit worksheet that we go through with the budget and finance committee. That's pretty much what we'll meet in September and October before the annual meeting and go through those. So it says basically you can't tax beyond this amount. And so the old term was tax to the max. So all schools would tax to that max dollar. Now for us, that's $200,000 with some of this other revenue. We may not have to tax to the max, but we want to make sure that we're able to afford the things that we put back in the budget. So we're going to try to keep close to that mill rate. And obviously if our equalized value goes up, that lowers the mill rate. Okay. So that means we can tax a little bit more and keep that mill rate the exact same. So that's what we're going to try to do. Some schools will not be able to do that. We anticipate being able to be close to what we promised, even with these challenges. Any other questions about anything with the budget? Otherwise, I'm going to yield my remaining time to Brad here from Epic, who's going to talk about some timeline items. Thanks, Brad.
Okay, last meeting, you guys had asked for me to kind of get you an update on the budget, and also kind of a high-level view of my initial thoughts on the schedule. So I've given both to you in the packet, and I'll review them quickly. I can go into as much detail as you would like, or can kind of cover the big picture and take questions. You guys get a chance to review. There's a lot of information here. The budget, let's start with that. That's the kind of Excel looking spreadsheet. So per Joe's request, what I did, the far right column, if you look at the top, says 2023. The last time we had updated this, we were out for bid in 2023 when we found out about the FEMA grant. So I let the bids continue on. I worked kind of through the fall. They were due around Labor Day, which is when we found out that we were selected for the FEMA grant. So we kind of finished it through, and that number in the right-hand column is essentially the last numbers that our core planning group looked at before we went on forward with the FEMA numbers and that stuff in earnest. So that will give you a comparison. The totals category, the second one in from the right, is what we're working off of right now in 2025. So what I tried to do to help you a little bit, if you see ones that are coded in green going down the numbers, that's either a contract I have awarded or it's a number I have that I'm working from to negotiate to final. So those are more of the known. Just to kind of give you a broad picture of that, we have the excavating's been set for a long time because that was done all the way back when we did the elementary parking lot. So excavating, concrete foundations, precast wall panels, structural steel, plumbing, heating, electrical, all of those have been awarded and are under contract. Those are the big tickets, the things we start the project with. Obviously, working on, I do have a number back in roofing, some of the next pieces in the steps, the things I have left to do in the next couple weeks to work through gym equipment, bleachers, finishes, small things that happen, smaller things that happen at the end. Some of them are still pretty good numbers, but so I think to highlight in this, this is reflective when you see the 2025, what we're working from today, what I'm projecting today. It includes anything we picked up along the way. So there was a lot of bad sidewalk around the elementary school that was pulled and replaced. So when you look at the contingency in back in 23, which would be down towards, be the second to last page. If you look down on construction contingency in 2023, we were working from $1,050,000. That was just in the spec book to put in as a contingency to carry. I show $1 million now, but the reality of that is we've done a bunch of that already. What I would have normally said would have happened as contingency. We put a bunch of casework into this summer project, put a bunch more storage in the classrooms to help the teachers with storage casework that wasn't in the original plans. The flooring of the high school hallway in 2023, that was not to be done as part of the job. But because we knew at that time we were tracking well to the budget, it was important to the staff and administrative team to get the high school hallway done in a rubber floor. So that all that VCT came up. That's part of why you see an increase. So when you look side by side as you guys go down through the numbers, and you can take your time, over the next few days to look that through. If you see some have gone up because of just pricing differences, difference of equipment, things that might have changed in the last 2 years, some have gone down. We've gotten better bids, more competitiveness. Some that went up is simply because we changed the scope and we added to what we were doing. So I think really what you guys care most about is to go to, the second to last page, and then the bottom line. So if you go to the last page, really the bottom line of where we are today, you've got a referendum of $26,850,000 all in right now with construction and all of the owner direct purchases. Directly above that, you see 24,766. Aaron is projecting about $3 million that you guys will have in spendable investment income. Is that fair to say? So I added that. So you have basically total revenue to use of about $29,850,000. That would leave you today, if all the rest of my bidding comes through as I hope and numbers track on, a little in excess of $5 million, still carrying $1 million contingency. So I'm saying we're somewhere between $5 and $6 million worth of additional money that you guys should be able to choose and select projects if all things continue forward.
And just a reminder, the only things that we can use are things that fit inside the language of the referendum question. So nothing outside of that scope. But we knew that, with the FEMA, we knew some of these projects that we wanted to do, and we tried to have that language in there that was general enough that it's got to be towards capital projects.
So a really good news, I think, if you can analyze it and look, it's up in ways from 2023 for various reasons, but your investment income by waiting the 2 years, if anybody asks what has happened by waiting, your investment income outpaced the change in construction and the things we've added. So you're net better than you would have been. Not as much as you would have been awarded $8 million from FEMA, but still in a really good position to have the ability to have conversations about additional projects. And Aaron shared some of that with Buildings and Grounds last week as well too, some potential things you guys can think about. One thing I would ask for all of you guys is to keep this confidential, because not all of these are awarded contracts yet, and I'm still negotiating on your behalf to try to get the best numbers I can, and I don't want this to be a public document at this point yet until we have everybody finalized. And if anybody from the public wishes, they could get this in a request after we make these numbers final and official. The other thing that Gary had asked, as Julie described it, Gantt chart, how we construct, just keep in mind kind of a 10,000 foot view right now of my initial thought of this and kind of how you see things strung together. This will get in way further detail. These are like bigger blocks of work and how I see it laying out to see how I view this. This is strictly for the addition. There'll be a completely different schedule for next summer for the shop. It's really independent of what goes on out in the addition. So big picture of this, we're starting right now in the very top. We're going through the shop drawings for the structural reinforcement. The rebar for the concrete is under review. We'll have joist and deck drawings and precast wall panel drawings and stuff coming in the next few weeks. That's that top line, with the idea that we would start into the excavation of this late August, start foundations right after we start that. You jump all the way down to the bottom. What do I think that means? We would turn the gym over Christmas, 26, 27 Christmas break. So you hope to come back from Christmas break and start to use the new facility. I think that's reasonable. As you guys all know, lots of things material deliveries, weather, lots of things can, but that's a long period of time, and hopefully we can push and work through. And I think that that's reasonable. So just wanted to give you a high level view to start. And if people are asking, I think that that's reasonable. As far as the summer work, as you saw, probably have seen coming in, we ran curb and gutter yesterday, snuck in some city sidewalk replacement today. So the two old entrances were removed. The new one lines up with Webster Street. You can see that out there now. That was poured this afternoon as well too. There's a little bit of the connection point here at the north end where it ties into your semicircular oval-shaped drop off here. There's some sidewalk work and curb and gutter there that we hope to catch in the next few days. Tim will come back and grade next week, and blacktop it the week of the 28th is the plan right now. And we'll stripe it as soon as Tim gets everything graded out. We'll put the construction fence along the backside of the curb. We can get some of your marketing and branding stuff on that so that we're fenced in when we start our construction. Things are going well in the high school hallway. Should by the end of next week have all the painting and all the acoustical ceiling finished, ready for carpet the week of the 28th in the rooms. Furniture delivers the week of August 11th. So should have all the rooms set up that week with their new furniture, and then we'll start the rubber floor coming down the hallway shortly after that and try to be done hopefully at least a week in advance to give everybody a chance to set up. The rubber floor hits the distribution center next Monday, which is good news. That was one we were a little nervous about, and the lockers are supposed to ship next week as well too. So They're starting to tile in the bathrooms this morning, so hopefully in the next few weeks we'll have the tile in, start setting plumbing fixtures and getting the bathrooms changed back out. And got cleaned up a couple little projects in the elementary school to give Whitney and Jason another 4K room. So we have hopefully that in the next couple weeks, get that done so they can get that floor waxed and they can get that set up as well too. So if I haven't covered it enough, and you got questions, go ahead and shoot me any questions you might have. I'm glad to continue to come to your meetings to update you as we go. So there's a little bit of work left in the bidding, but I feel pretty confident in the budgets that I have in those numbers that we're not tracking off from that. So.
So it looks like next summer at this time, it's gonna look like we have a ready to go gym from the outside, but
Correct.
we have
And you can see some of the,
postpone our
Yeah,
excitement a little bit.
if you kind of,
That'd be great.
there are some things that would start to make sense as I put this together that maybe doesn't, but like having exterior finishes at line 12, when you look at it, that would be your brick, some of the metal panel. There's a reason I have that at 710, because the intent, if that's done in July, is in August, we would put the final finish coat of blacktop on and be done. I wouldn't want to do that if we were still, so the hope would be when you come back to school next year, it literally looks finished on the outside, that we would be down to the wood floor, the things that have to happen on the inside. You can imagine there's 20 hoops that hang from your ceiling in this gym. You guys did not realize that, but there's 20 of them in there. There's volleyball nets that come down from the ceiling. There's a lot of work up in there, and then it takes a long time to put that wood floor in. This is a big gym. And this actually works out. What I liked about the way this, as I was putting this together in my mind, if you look at like gymnasium flooring, I have it starting right after Labor Day. It is so bad for them in the summer because most people have to have it when school starts, and they just it'll be much easier, in my opinion, to get a better number from them with the idea that they know this is a fall install of 2026. So I liked actually the way that laid out and fit in there. So very happy with the contractors that we've been able to get on board. Feel very good about the group we've assembled. That's important. Jobs to move along well, to be done professionally. So I feel very good about that. Germain Electric has been here for a long time doing your maintenance electrical work. They were a successful bidder on the electrical, so pleased with that. Any other questions? It's all good news. So you have some thinking to do now about how you want to spend your extra money.
Thank you, Brad.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
Do you have anything else, Aaron?
All right, discussion item A, subcommittee report on district branding.
Yeah, so tonight we're going to be voting on the nickname and logo from last Wednesday's meeting. We're not ready to vote on the mascot, so we will be going with the nickname of Cubans. And the logo, the design really hasn't changed. We'll have a 1 color, 2 color, 3 color, all the way up to 5 colors, but the design is what we'll let them know, go ahead of this and give us those different options out of that. And so you guys will just be voting on that tonight. So any other items that you want to discuss tonight about either nickname or logo?
On the large logo, we're talking about having the one with and without the.
We'll have both.
Sounds
We'll have
right.
both as options. Yes.
Just clarifying.
So we'll ask them for different types of files for all those for the different colors, and for one with the cubicity to give one killer and one without, depending on the size and what fits on that product. So we'll ask for all those. Any other discussion? Yep. Okay. The next one is discussion on student athletic fees. We've had a request for us to consider looking at a couple different ways to get more people in the gym watching our athletes. One is to waive elementary and middle school fees for games. So if they come to a game, it's not $5 for them. There is one conference, is that Ridge and Valley? What's River Ridge in?
Six
Six Rivers. Thank you. Six Rivers is what it is. I believe they just allow elementary school kids in free of charge. We've talked about this before with allowing middle school kids in free of charge. One thing that our athletic director, Coach Lawson, suggested is that she was worried about this being free daycare and people just dropping them off. So her thing was, if we're going to let elementary and middle school kids in free of charge, please have it free of charge with an adult. So if something happens, then there's an adult that we can talk to about that. The other option is to allow passes, so a family pass or an individual pass. And we've done that in the past. Didn't go over very well, so we weren't sure if maybe we didn't market it well, but so you could buy a fall pass, and that just you show the pass and you get in for any athletic events, and they write the names of everybody in your family if you want to have a family pass in there. So we've done that in the past. I don't even know if we sold 25 family passes.
Oh, they weren't family passes.
Were they individual passes?
Individual passes, and you could get a winter sports pass, or you could get a pass
Fall.
just for like boys basketball or girls basketball or wrestling. So you could do individual sports, or like a winter one that encompassed all.
It also saves our people from waiting in line to get in. They could just walk by with a pass and just, there you go. And you say, okay, if you got that to pay, go to the right of the table. If you have a pass, go on the left, and you just show that and go through. So I think where this is coming from, and I know Mr. Doyle's here to talk about that. You're going to talk about that today when we get to that part. One thing is we passed this great referendum. We passed our operating referendum. And this would be an olive branch. We can say, okay, we want to get as many people in here to see our athletes performing in these spaces as we can. And so we're going to allow our kids to get in free. That it's going to require, some more parent supervision, for those we get. I don't think anybody wants us to just drop 30 kids off without an adult. But I think that's where this is coming from, is how can we get more of our kids in here to watch our athletes and get them excited about playing in the future. So that's kind of where this came from. I'll hand it over to you guys. And what we're thinking about today is, as you guys discuss it, you're going to be telling me what to bring back to you in August. And so we'll vote on it in August. So what are your guys' thoughts?
What is the cost for kids right now? $3?
Is it?
It's all the same.
It's $5.
It's $5.
No
No matter what.
No
Yeah,
matter
no matter.
what.
And that's
No.
so that's a conference rule. Is the cost for conference games has to be at $5?
That
Is it-
comes from, that's at the conference level. The only time that the amount for little ones changes is when they go into like the postseason. That dollar amount comes from the WIAA, so then it's usually like $1, and I don't remember the.
I think it goes up $1 each round.
But I think it's $1, and it maybe goes up through like age 6, but don't quote me on that. Carrie, you're probably know that better than what I
So even like a 6-month-old is $5.
Under five and under is free.
Free,
Yeah.
yes.
5 and under is free.
And my suggestion would be, instead of like last time we did fall and the individual sports, my suggestion would just be like offer a fall pass and a winter pass and just market it that way, and don't break it down by individual sports.
I think it does get expensive, like just a family of 4 to come to a couple or a few games in a week. Like it adds up fast. Like it's an expense, and we want the support of the families to come to our events. So
Yeah, I would be interested in exploring a season pass, I suppose. But I would have to think about like how we would set the rate for a family pass, because like, are you going average family? How many games a week are you averaging? That's what I'd be interested to see on some numbers and suggestions on, is what are we thinking a season pass reasonably looks like? And I don't recall what
I
we
think
said on
last
that
time we had
time.
it like if it's for 4 people and we assume they're going to come to half of the home events, what would that cost be? And then anything past, I think that's how we did it last time.
But I don't think we did family. I was thinking it was just
Individual.
individual passes.
It's
think
a little
that's-
more complicated.
well, but I also think it's easier too, because I know for my family, I arrive at one time, another person arrives at another
yeah.
time. To have that,
Sure.
those individual passes is helpful.
With like the parent per kid thing, is that like 2 parents get 2 kids in for free, or is that just
I would say
Go with
if one parent has 4 kids, that's fine.
That's good.
Yeah.
As long as they're in it as an adult.
There's an
accompanying
adult
some
accompanying
kid.
those kids.
I
Yeah.
guess I struggle with that one a little bit with some of the middle school though, because there are events where middle schoolers, like, I would send my middle schooler and have no issue, I guess I struggle with that because I don't know, I'm just. are
Well,
you-
maybe you guys could just say that's for elementary.
Yeah,
Yeah.
if you're
Say
elementary and younger must have an adult.
Grades 5 and below have to have an accompanying
I
adult.
just feel like this is the middle school building as well, so they kind of know the expectation and so I guess I struggle with middle school having to have the adult there. But I like the idea of a season pass as well. But I also think, why are we charging for our middle schoolers as well?
For high school, it's built in their fees. We don't build that in for middle school student athletic fees, and we don't build it in for elementary. And as Jessie said, that stuff's going out tomorrow. So like,
Don't change it
but
now.
I don't think anybody was saying we wanted to increase the fees.
Or maybe it's like a student pass is $10 a season, 15, where you're still bringing in a little bit of revenue, but yet we are encouraging them to come to our games by offering them a reasonable pass as well.
What's the difference between middle and high school fees? Anyone know?
High school, they have it's 50 for the first one, 25 for the second sport, and 15 for the third sport. Where middle school it's $50.
For all of them.
Yeah, as many as you want to compete in.
So that's what their entry is included in this language. That.
It's probably hard to get like a kid number. I mean, it could be 10 kids one game, 50 kids the next game.
It depends who we're playing and how good our teams are.
Right.
And we don't have numbers on that. We would only have numbers on postseason. So any postseason games, no matter what the sport is that we're hosting, we would have like total number of adults versus numbers of the kids that would charge $2. But again, that would be 6 and younger or $1.
And I don't know if you guys are interested in hearing this or not, but some of the middle school kids asked when we started getting the ID cards for our pictures, they wanted to know if they could get it in for a discount. And so if they showed their ID, that they would get in for a cheaper amount.
Yeah, maybe having a middle school athletic pass for $25 that gets you in every home
Every game or
event,
something.
every event, and then they've got to bring their ID card to get in. Like Julie said, it
I
gives us
just feel
some
like,
revenue.
and that could go for the whole year
That
then,
could go for
like the whole
year.
year, because
Yeah.
there's only,
Fall and winter, yeah.
I just feel like you have to make it reasonable. We want to encourage students to come to those games. And as a person who's got 4 kids, it's mighty costly when you're paying for 6 of us to come to a game. So I want to be able to, I want families to be able to support us.
Agree.
So I'm hearing bring back family passes,
I would do individual.
I'm sorry,
I would-
individual
passes.
individual
Well,
passes.
especially if we are considering either a discount or possibly free for elementary, like a family pass, then it doesn't make sense if you have both, but an individual pass and then my kid gets in because they're with me, or for $25 for the year if they're middle school, if I'm understanding that right.
I think it takes away the free piece of it. I think it's just you get a family pass, and if you have a pass, you have a pass. But if you don't, then you pay the door admission. So at the beginning of the year, they'd go to the office, get their pass for the year for $25. They have to bring in every game. They don't have it, then they pay the door admission.
So
Some kids aren't going to go to 5
middle-
games.
yeah.
Some
Right, for middle school.
For middle
for
school,
middle school.
but then for adults who wanted to buy an individual pass, they could.
Yeah.
And would we consider elementary as free with an adult, or is that not of interest?
I don't know if anyone's just make it free. the
Well, yeah,
elementary.
because we're not charging
young
high
enough.
school
Yeah,
and then we're not charging elementary, but we're just charging middle school. Doesn't make sense either.
So if an adult has a pass, their fifth grade and younger child gets in, or children, not just child, children get in free with them.
As long as we don't make this too
Or as long
complicated.
as they.
That's
the
what I'm
adult-
saying,
I
right.
think the children come in with them regardless, because if they pay at the door, we're still gonna let them in. So I think the elementary students should be free regardless, whether they show a pass or they pay the fee. The pass
So free for elementary students.
with an adult who has a pass or pays at the door.
And are we still gonna charge the middle schoolers then? So they would be the only
They
students
would be the
paying.
only ones with the student pass then.
And is that only
Well,
because
so-
their fees are less? Because we're not charging high
So do
schoolers.
you,
So
well,
why
or
charging
are
middle
we?
school?
That's the question, I guess, is.
Right.
Do you get it once you pay your $25 for your first or everyone who if you're in a sport, or you're paying that fee for that athletic, then you get that pass.
About the kids that aren't in school.
I was just gonna
So,
say that.
Or an
Yeah.
activity
It's
fee.
an
Oh,
activity
it's an
fee.
So then they would,
it'd be like
activity
for
fee, so then they
rent,
would have to pay the
this.
$25 to get their first activity, which is going to your events.
So if they were in like middle school forensics.
Wait, say that again. So if you're in an activity, you pay in middle school, you get the pass?
So
And maybe
That was cool.
everyone comes to
That was
school, regardless of who you are, you've already paid your $25 activity fee. If that counts for your first activity, whether it's in the fall or if it's in the spring, that's your activity. So yeah, it's gonna be a little bit of paperwork, I think, to keep track of that piece of it, but
But they can still pay it at
They
the
can-
beginning,
yep.
so you have it all year.
and middle school kids are great at keeping track of their own passes. So
So I was going to ask the
Yeah.
question, does the board feel like it's acceptable? If the kids would take like a picture, if we would just say like, take a picture of this, put it on your phone, like save it as a favorite, I don't know. I should probably know this because I have a middle school student with a phone. I feel like if he did that, if I told him to do that, he would do like, this is what you need to take a picture of this so that you can get it.
Yeah, because they always have their phones, right?
They
yeah,
always have their phones.
they don't lose those. Just passes. I don't think that would be a problem. Everybody who's taking tickets, if the kid walks by and they show that with a picture ID.
We're not voting on this. We're just discussing
You're
it
just,
tonight.
you're just telling me what you want me to bring back.
So maybe that's worth asking too, of like, hey, folks that have worked the door before, like, how are we creating more of a headache than this is worth? Or like, how do we make this a better process for both the community coming in, but like easy for us to work as well? I don't think, hopefully passes are easy breezy, but
When I talked to Carrie, she just said, we'll just have like cash
Cash
payment on
line.
the right and
Okay.
passes go on the left. And
Okay.
I think it'll be easier.
Mhm.
Now, will there be some people who sneak in? Yeah, there's people who sneak in right now. Like, we do the best that we can. There's a lot of doors here.
Would it be like a simple idea if we just did like one pass per kid and then you get like a family discount of 4 passes and a 50% off? Then you get like that whole pass for the whole year? No?
Only
Or-
talking middle school,
Right.
school and high school at this point.
Well, not high school, right? Because high school getting free.
Well, that's what we're talking about.
Right,
They
right,
should-
right, right.
Maybe they shouldn't if
Really?
they're not
So
paying an activity fee.
we were just talking, we're not sure that it's tied to the
Is it
activity
the activity
fee
fee or is it just
the
a fee?
registration?
It's,
Registration for a middle schooler is $50 for the year, where high school is $50 per semester.
I think it's registration because
It's-
everybody
it's
registration.
tied to semester fees, because when I code the semester fees,
That would be your registration. So
in
that's
first
everybody pays it.
semester, the percentage that I quoted to semester fees versus activity fees is different first semester compared to the second semester, so it's tied to their semester / registration fees.
So it's separate.
So what I'm hearing is that,
So every student does pay it.
Correct.
am I hearing what you guys want me to bring back? So we'll have an adult pass, an annual pass. You can pay once and that gets you in for for everything all year for an adult. But I'm hearing you guys kind of say elementary school through high school, we're going to issue them a pass, and as long as they show their student ID or, you know, something that we get proof of, or
Student ID.
like they just get in free. Is that what I'm hearing? Is that what you guys want me to bring back?
Yes.
Say that again. Sorry,
It sounds like you guys really want
Here's where I'm getting hung up.
K through 12 to get in for free.
I know we talked about not doing seasons, but in my head I'm thinking, if I'm only gonna go to volleyball games, I don't want to spend more than I would paying at the door. So is that what we want them to weigh? Like, you're just gonna have to pay at the door if you are only gonna go to volleyball?
Heather, would it be a problem if we said you could buy an annual pass, or you could just buy a fall, or just buy a winter for that? Like if somebody's just in.
It's not a problem. I think, are we gonna have different like color cards? Like if you have because you're gonna have to have football, every single sport that we have. So
We'd probably go season, right? Like you could buy a fall season, or you could buy a winter season.
Winter,
I think that would be better. Season.
I would prefer, yes, that's what I was saying. I
Season.
would prefer like a fall pass and a winter sports pass.
Or just an annual pass.
Or an annual pass, either one's fine. If you want to do individual sports passes, like we certainly can, but I feel like then those cards are gonna have to be different colors, and then who's ever taking tickets is like, okay, when I'm working volleyball, here are the colors that can be acceptable versus if I'm working with, like, I think it's just gonna be too messy.
And then you
for,
got
like,
other passes on
Yes,
top of it.
because
right.
there's WIA, there's like conference passes, WIA passes, like senior passes. It's a lot for one person who's taking tickets, and if we have all these different types of passes, so I think we need to try to like streamline it as much as possible.
So I like
It's only
I
one
like
person.
season better than annual.
Season?
Yeah.
So fall and winter.
What's up, John?
We will get to, he's signed in to talk. So
Public recognition.
when they're talking, we don't go to the audience. But you're next.
What about we just did all kids free, tack on something for registration? If you use it, great.
I don't think we can tack on the
can't do that.
registration now.
We can't do that now.
No.
Okay.
But we could say we're trying it out this year, and then we're gonna see if there are any problems, and then next year
Then you
at
just do a blanket,
$25 per student or whatever.
and you can use it a bunch, get your money out of it. You cannot, so be it. And then you get one pass. Away you go. Worry about the beginning of the year.
So you want to have like a student trial this year, say all students are in for free at elementary level. They have to have a responsible adult with them, but then we'll have fall and winter passes for adults. That's what you guys want me to bring back.
For some, I think somebody can make it easier so we don't have 3 different passes throughout the whole
Yeah.
year to figure out exactly what you want or what package or something. Kind of just a blanket.
We want
I
it to
like
be
what you
easy.
said. I like students free for the year and season pass for adults.
All right. Sounds good.
All Cuba City students.
So here's the
So
thing.
visitors.
Those of you who have done table work before, if they're a high school teacher, you know most of the high school kids, you know some of the elementary, and you know very few of the some of the middle, and very few of the elementary. So like we don't get a lot of little kids from visiting schools coming. It's generally parents.
Okay.
So I would just say we're the school that allows kids in for free, because we don't know who's a Mineral Point student or a Cuba City student at the elementary level. Our high school teachers who do a lot of the table work don't know that. I don't know how we would
Okay.
do that.
And I could be a Cuba City student, and I might be wearing a Darlington sweatshirt because my friend is.
Well, I
Not if Mrs. Lawson
So-
sees you.
I just wanna go in there.
Get into like,
All of our
well,
I'll say
yes.
Fenimore, I'll say Fenimore, okay.
Yep. And I think having if they take the picture of the ID, that's going to be just as good.
Or maybe come back just like four or 5 different options. of What to do to.
So, and if you guys come up with a different idea that you want me to bring up, we can always bring multiple options in August. But I'll go with those to start. All right. The last one we have here is cash in lieu of, and then we'll get to public recognition. So last month, the board asked we come up with 3 different looks. Look at a $4,000 stipend, a $5,000 stipend, 85% cost of a single option. So Heather created a document that you guys can look at. Remember, the stipend is offset by not having to pay the premium. We will tell you that when we talk to our insurance guys about this, they're like, okay, it might save you money here, but if all your healthy families drop and the families that are high users stay, that's going to raise over time. So that's something to keep in mind. But like if a family says, I'm going to take my spouse's insurance now because there's a $4,000 stipend or $5,000, that's probably saving us around $20,000 in premium payments that we'll be making for that family also. So there is an option. I don't think there's any option here that you're going to lose money. We used 85% because that's what it was maybe 4 years ago. I think 4,000, it was a while ago. We never had 5,000. I think that was just one that was in between 85, because Heather, what was it, 85% in dollars?
This year?
Yeah.
It's option 4, which is a little more than $6,700.
So 4,000, 5,000, 6,700. So those are the three options that you guys wanted to look at.
And this is using only 18, and that's.
And you never know. I mean, that number, if we raise it up to 5,000 or 6,500, that 18 number could shoot to 28, or it might stay at 18. We don't know. There's no way for us to know. But in none of these scenarios do we lose money this year. It's long-term. If we're losing healthy families, that might have implications for premium payments in future years. So thoughts from the board after seeing these numbers and hearing that. Heather, was there anything that I didn't?
Nope.
And have we always offered a
Cash and lieu.
cash and lieu, right? Has that been?
I guess I don't know when it started since I've been here.
Since you've been here?
Do we know if other schools do it?
About a third of the schools in CISA 3 provide cash and lieu. When Act 10 happened in 2011, a lot of schools got rid of that. That was one thing that QC did not get rid of.
So I'm just talking out loud. So if we raised it to 4,000, it's gonna double our cost to 72,000, but we're saving about 47,000. So we're in the black $12-ish thousand, right?
Yes.
Am I looking at this right?
As long as that number stays.
And that's just premium payments because there's no other, like there are other associated costs that go with health insurance.
There's an HRA.
The HR, and we can't predict that. There's no way.
So like for a single person, the deductible is $6,000. And for a family, it's $12,000. For single, they're paying the first $1,500. For families, you're paying the first $3,000. So the difference between the $12,000 and the $3,000, that's what's called an HRA. And there's no way for me to know if I'm going to use myself. If I decide to go on my husband's insurance, there's no way for me to know what type of savings the district would see in HRA. There's no way for me to guess that. And even if I knew how much HRA the Dressler family used in 24, 25, that's all based on what type of medical situations they had going on, which could be very different the following year.
But what you guys have is that's the least amount that
Correct.
we would save. There might be more savings than that, but there wouldn't be less.
Yeah.
And correct me, when we had to make that initial round of budget cuts, it had previously been at 4,000.
That was what it was 2 years ago. Yes. And then I
In
think 2 years.
22, 23, and then in 23, 24, it was $4,000 both of those years.
And then going back, then it was 85%.
And then
Yeah,
prior
okay.
to that, it was at 85% of single insurance.
And the other thing is that we think more people will probably go on it because a lot of teachers didn't like that we have to go with one carrier And now if we provide this, that makes, they're like, well, we can go with my spouse's insurance and still keep our doctors. We thought that would be this would be something nice for our teachers that also saves some dollars. So any feelings about 4, 5, or the 85%? Because this is going to be voted on later in the meeting. I mean, you can make a motion for any of those or for something different if you'd like. But
If I was leaning one way, I'd probably do the option 3 of the 5.
The 5,000.
Probably would be, yeah. Increase, a little bit of an increase then from previous years. We're at 4.
If I may, Dan, I don't want to put you on the spot, but I want to make sure that you have a chance to share thoughts on this because you had been weighing these pretty heavily, I think, in our last discussion. Did you have a preference either way?
Yeah, I mean, my thoughts would be go back to the 4.
I think that's where I'm at too. If you go to the 3, it looks like it's almost even versus our costs versus our savings. And with that cushion of not really being unsure of future.
So my thought was 4, but then after a year, bump it to 5. So once you've been off of it for a year, then we bump it up to 5 for after that. Because, or give it a year to see how many people make the move over to see how much we're saving.
I mean,
I can
because
see
this
that.
is something we could evaluate
you
year
do
to
that every
year.
year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
So that's my gut is 4 for this first year. And then if it's a cost savings where it's beneficial to our district and it's beneficial to our teachers, then we bump it to 5.
Yeah.
With them knowing that that's the case and maybe they will jump it knowing, okay, we'll get extra in the next year.
That makes sense.
I had also been leaning towards 4, seeing it as the restoration of what we had
Yes.
cut previously. But I like the idea of like, we will continually evaluate this.
All right. Good. All right, now we'll move on to public recognition. Mr. Doyle, you're up.
Well, you covered a lot of things that I was gonna talk about, but, by the way, yesterday, 50 years in Cuba City. I had a
July
great
15th.
23 years up here, but, my thought I was talking to a former student, why they weren't at the games. And they said, well, I got 4 kids and it's costing me $45 basically to go to the game. And I said, well, how much are the tickets and that? And I thought she said $5, $6 or something like that. But as soon as they get inside the door, they got to go to the concessions. So then he said, we got 3 basketball games, some weeks between girls and boys. And even though we go, but we can't afford 3 games in 1 week, I mean, it's just too much money. And I said, I don't know if that's exactly right. So I said something to Mr. Olson and he said, did you talk to this person? I said, no, I just talked to a former student. So some thoughts I had on it. First of all, I don't think you can have a policy for other districts coming to Cuba City. I think we got to look out for Cuba City. And our kids can come for nothing or $1 or whatever. Because if we go to Mineral Point and we got to pay $3 or $4 for our kids, it's different, and so we have to say, I think our St. Rose students all our district students should get advantage of this, but I don't see why we would want to have the whole, because it isn't fair then to our students to go to Mineral Point or to go to Dodge Hill or go to someplace and they have to pay to get in. And we know right now, WIA events, they got to pay for, so they know those things. But, and I don't know if you want it as an activity pass or you want it as just athletics. But if you make it athletics, there's really 3 or 4 home football games. And you'll chase it up and down that hill for 25 years. It just happens, and sometimes some of the better games might be in the parking lot, but they're playing out there too. But the little ones, they don't really go to the game, but they go to with their friends. And I think that's what we have to look at. We got to look at their friends to do things, not look at a computer screen. And it's easy to say, we're not going to go tonight, but I'm glad you got a phone too.
No, that's 3 minutes. That means you're done. We got 3 minutes.
But, so anyway,
I'm sorry, Mr. Doyle, we've got to stop at 3 minutes. We can't let you keep going.
Really?
Because we love what you're saying, but if somebody got up here and was saying something different, we got to cut them off at 3 minutes.
Okay.
So, but we appreciate it.
But I think we should have a committee or something looking at it, not just 5 people. And I'm really serious about it because I talked to a lot of people and they're against charging kids that much money.
Yeah.
So
thank you. I appreciate it.
Okay, moving on to new business. A is approve the date and time for the August 2025 regular Board of Education meeting.
I haven't had any recommendations or changes. Anybody have any?
When is it, the 20th?
Wednesday,
20th at
August
6.
20th. I wrote July there.
Yep.
Okay, hearing none, we'll move.
Okay, B is approve the purchase. We don't need to move on
No, yeah,
No,
move
we'll
on to
just
B,
move to
sorry.
the next item.
that. B is approve the purchase of a replacement water softener at the elementary school.
Yep, our policy states that any building to the ground replacement item that's over $5,000, we don't have to bring to the board. This has happened a couple times. Any purchase over $5,000, even if it's a replacement item, I do like to bring to you. This broke last winter, and we lived through it, but that's something that we want to purchase, about $8,600. We priced a few different ones. We'll be going with a local company here to install that. So my recommendation is that we approve this.
Is there a motion or any follow-up questions on the replacement of the water softener? Hearing none, I'll take a motion.
I'll move to approve the purchase of a replacement water softener at CCES as presented.
I will second. Schweigert,
Yes.
Joel,
Yes.
White,
Yes.
Hinderman, yes, Bowden,
Yes.
motion carried.
Item C is approve the changes to the Cuba City School District Handbook.
Yep, so we've got 3 of these tonight. I'll have one, and then Jason will have one, and Chris will have one for the handbooks. We are going to be looking at condensing the professional guidelines from 2 different ones. We had one at the elementary and one at middle school, high school. We're trying to put that into one, so it's just one fewer document. So those will be in next month. So looking at the district handbook, there are just 3 changes. One just clarifies that the district by state law has to offer teachers a contract by May 15th every year. And the state statute says that it should be back no later than 30 days after that. So by June 15th, we just wanted to put that in the handbook so people know that hey, you've got that month. So that's the May 15th. And also for support staff, that same thing, that May 15th and June 15th deadline is more specified language. The next one is the addition of adding a 2 weeks notice if someone resigns. And we don't have this happen very often, but when it does happen, we don't have anything in our handbook right now that says they have to provide 2-week notice. So this just adds that to that section. And then the last one is reporting accidents, and they have to, this clarifies that you have to fill out an employee accident report within 72 hours. And that wasn't a part of that. You had to report it to a supervisor within 72 hours, but we actually want them to have an employer accident report in case there's something our insurance company needs us to do. So those are the only 3 changes for the handbook that we have. Are there any questions on any of those three items?
The second one is that you are adding, regardless, failure to provide required notice may result in a $2,000 liquidated damages fee. Is that on top of the other 1.5% if it's between July 1st
Yep,
and
so
14?
That's, the 2,000 would be like if it was February 2nd, and somebody just says, I'm done today, I'm leaving. Then they would be charged that 2,000.
So it's not on top, it's
It's not
not
on top of
like
that.
if they were to resign on July 20th and say, I need to be done this week. It's not the 2% plus the 2%?
No, it would be that other one. And that's how we look at that. Maybe I should have that in language either or, or if it's during September 1 through June 1st or something like that.
Something, it's just kind of contradictory.
Clarifying that.
I'll add a clarification date on there. So they know it's not both.
Sure.
Any other questions? Hearing none, would someone move?
I'll move to approve the changes of the Cuba City School District Handbook as presented.
Is there a second?
I'll second. Schweigert,
Yes.
Joel, White,
Yes.
Hinderman, yes, Bowden,
Yes.
motion carried.
Item D is approve the changes to the CCES parent and student handbook.
We've got, I thank Jesse and Whitney for working through this and looking for updates that were needed. Updating our table of contents to reflect the changes, staff changes that will be occurring. We did take a look and remove some language that felt outdated. Specifically, there was a line on students leaving campus for lunch, and that we figure falls under our regular checkout when parents sign them out. I don't know if that was something at one time kids in the neighborhood used to walk home for lunch or something. I'm not sure. So we're removing that. Also language about computer use for our library procedures. We suspect that was probably left over from when we had a computer lab as a part of the library. Now that devices are one-to-one, that doesn't seem to fit anymore. Updated cafeteria breakfast lunch prices accordingly. Updated our in-town transportation. We have just the cutoff date for that is now set at September 1st, so that families need to fill out that form prior to September 1st to get that approval. And then only changes during the year will occur if there's a change of address. So we're not jumping back and forth throughout the year. That will help things out with Davis bus lines. Updated some standards of grooming and dress. Again, some things were a bit outdated and gender specific. So we just wanted to make sure that we're not addressing things specifically based on that. Looking for updating any information health-wise, including language from Grant County Health Department, facts about head lice and things like that. One major change was we had previously had hats and coats as a part of language that denied that. Right now, it's based on approval by the principal. And so we're looking to continue that with coats, but removing lines 3 and 4, and I can't remember exactly what they were stated. We didn't put those in there.
I know the one was with the hats, so leaving that up. And one thing that Jason and I talked about was that's a great segue to build relationships. to see what kids like and enjoy. So I think changing that one, and then I think lines 3 and 4 were the gender specific. I believe that's what it was.
We're looking forward to it, just to be sure.
And then just updating the civil rights certificate, and then our conduct expectations were kind of the same. We were condensing some of them that were very similar to each other, just to make it more user friendly.
We found there was a lot of repetition in our conduct expectations, so we combined some of those.
Yeah, for things that were stated, but we have district policies for them. So we condensed that. And then another thing that we were going to try is have, instead of listing all of the district policies that were previously in our handbook, to have a page and link them, so then parents can access that. Those are also found with the board policies as well. So again, just trying to condense it, so instead of it being 56 pages, it's more user-friendly for families.
3 and 4 had to do with shoes and advertisements, and we feel that that fits under the appropriateness title. So we just thought it was extra verbiage that wasn't needed. Still included, just included under different language.
And then the last one was just removing two informational sheets as they are in our registration forms. So parents see those when they register.
Really hoping to continue to look to condense our handbook so that it's more encourageable for people to read through it. Yes. And so places where it was just a matter of a separate policy, we're going to put links in there instead. So, any questions on that?
Hearing none, would someone like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the changes to the CCES Parent and Student Handbook as presented. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Schweiger,
Yes.
Joel,
Yes.
White,
Yes.
Hinderman, yes, Bowden.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Item E is approve the changes to the Cuba City Middle School Parent and Student Handbook.
Yep, so I actually have two. I have the middle school and the high school, and you're gonna see some of the same in both. We every year update our staff and our calendar. The big one that we're going to change with middle school and high school is the use of cell phones and smartwatches. We would like to go to a full cell phone ban, so the cell phones would be and smartwatches will be in lockers during the day. They can obviously check on them when they go to their locker, but they would not have them during class time unless a teacher requests to have them in the classroom, and they will not have them at lunch. This is not necessarily a big change from middle school, but we did go to the classroom lockers. We want to go away from that, go back to just having kids keep them in their locker or leave them at home. So that's the big change with that. Any questions with that before I move on to the next, because that is a big one.
Our new lockers do not lock. Is that the correct statement?
They don't lock, however, I think it's written in the policy that the students can bring a lock for their locker, but they have to provide us with a key or a combination so that we can get it, because the school owns the locker, the student is using it. They can lock their items in there, but they have to provide us with a way to get into the locker. So then the next thing, we had in our acceptable use, we had acceptable use and unacceptable use. Ms. Burkett and I have worked on this. We've kind of found throughout the year that we were a lot of times looking at it and going, where does this fall? So we actually came up with major violations and minor violations, and then along with that, what your first offense, your second offense, third offense, for a major or a minor. So we have language in there that is a little more specific, and so we are not just kind of guessing. We can say, okay, well, this is what they did, this is where it falls, this is what the punishment for that will be. Any questions with that part? And then the last thing that we had for middle school, we found that, I was working with Jacob Glennon, our athletic or activities director for middle school, we found that the activities sanctions for middle school were actually almost worse than the high school ones, more strict than the high school ones. So we worked to create language that is almost a mirror image of what the high school uses. So it, again, would have major and minor. Prior to this, we only had major. So everything that a kid did landed them with a major violation. And so now it is exactly as the high schools is, which will be a little more equitable. So that's it for middle school.
Are there any questions on the changes proposed to the CCMS parent and student handbook? If none, I will take a motion.
I'll move to approve the changes to the CCES parent and student handbook as presented.
Just the, yeah.
CCMS. Sorry, Joe, that's my.
Yeah.
Okay. I was reading, all right.
Typo.
You read it
CCMS
correct.
parent and student handbook as presented.
I will second. Schweiger,
Yes.
Joel, yes. White,
Yes.
Hinderman, yes. Bowden,
Yes.
motion carried.
And then Chris, you have the changes to the high school as well?
So high school one is going to be very similar. Like I said, we are changing the policy on cell phones and smartwatches that they're going to be prohibited during the day. Again, I'm sure that kids will check them as they go to their locker between classes. But this is, like I said, we feel it's going to benefit us academically, and it's going to benefit us safety-wise as well. And then the second thing that we also updated the acceptable use policy to reflect the same thing, where we have the major and minor violations and the sanctions that go with those. And that's it for the high school.
Are there any questions regarding the handbook? If not, we'll take a motion.
I'll move to approve the changes to the CCHS parent and student handbook as presented.
Is there a second? I will
I will
second.
second.
Thank you, Dan. Schweiger,
Yes.
Joel. Yes. White,
Yes.
Hinderman, yes. Bowden,
Yes.
motion carried.
The next one is approve a request for a non-district student to attend the New York band trip. And our legal counsel has advised us to not approve this request. And it's on there. I'm not recommending that we approve it. It's on here so that if there's not a motion, we move on to the next one. But I did include his rationale for why that is. A lot of it is just liability of taking a student who is not a Cuba City student on a Cuba City field trip. Are there any motions? Hearing
So are
none.
we-
Oh, go ahead.
We're not moving on this, right?
Nope,
We just
just
have
have
to,
the
we just
option
option
Yep,
to,
so
okay.
I had to write it that way,
Yeah.
even though I'm not recommending it, so it didn't get a motion, so we move on. So it's not approved. Next one, approve the change to the district handbook for cash in lieu of insurance. So it sounded like the group wanted to move to approve the change to the district handbook for cash in lieu of insurance to $4,000.
Do we need to add that to the
Yeah.
motion?
The,
Yep.
I would like to add with the annual review.
Okay. So when you make the motion, that's. You have it written down.
Oh, if there's no other discussion on that, I will move to approve the change to the district handbook for cash in lieu of insurance to $4,000 with an annual review process as presented.
I'll second.
Schweiger,
Yes.
Joel,
Yes.
White,
Yes.
Hinderman, yes. Bowden,
Yes.
motion carried.
Item I is approve the Cuba City School District Wellness Plan.
And Tammy is here to present kind of the process, talk a little bit about the process that they use, and they do this every few years. So Tammy?
Yep, so the wellness policy is something that we look over every 3 years. The first thing that I did with this is I checked in with the DPI site to make sure that I followed everything correctly. And one of the first changes that was noticeable was that they no longer use the school health index. They now use WellSat. So the first thing that I had to do was I went through that, which you guys have a copy of that assessment. Also during that time, we reached out to school community members for anybody that would be interested in joining us in that committee. And we had 9 community members reply back to me to be a part of that, on top of health and PE teachers, food administrator, and then also guidance counselors. So we met back in April, and then we just discussed everything in the WellSat policy that did not receive a 2. So the scores for that were a 2, a 1, a 0, or non-applicable. 2 meaning you met everything that was needed. 1 was you had parts of it or you were vague in certain areas. 0s meaning it wasn't addressed. And then non-applicable was something that didn't relate to us. So then what we did is we talked about each of those points through that WellSat assessment, and then we went through and we kind of confirmed and made those changes that we wanted to see in the policy then in May. So just going to kind of walk through those changes that we did look at making, or maybe some of the things that are 1 and why we didn't make those changes. So starting with section 1, I'll go through like FR2, and then so that scores a 1. I'll kind of explain why we're at that. So that one there was just a simple change. It either needed to include a link to the USDA site, or it needed to include the standards. So we just went in and linked that site to that. So that was the first change. The next one, FR3, our policy did not address this topic. And so that was in the wellness policy attachment, school meals in section A. We just added a section that talked about how cafeterias are cashless. So all students don't need to worry about handling money. Everything's typed in with a code. Moving down, FR11. This was scored a 1, and we decided to leave it at that point. During our discussion with this, one of our big things that we talked about was updating and making a wellness site on our website. So we currently have something for the fitness center, but looking at changing that to more of a wellness type site. And we also talked about adding a quarterly wellness newsletter. And so this would kind of cover and include some of that information by allowing that to be on that site. So that's why we decided to leave that at a 1 for the time being. And then moving into the section 2, nutrition environment services. So NES 3, that was at a 0, and that just related to the free and reduced price meals. So again, under the school meals section in the policy, we just included information about that can be found in the specific board policy. Also, moving down farther again, NES 8 was 1. Again, that was an easy fix. That was just a link to the Smart Snacks site. And then NES 9, right below that, we decided to not make any changes with this. This talks about school-sponsored fundraisers. And the thing with this one was school-wide, you would only be allowed to have 3 food or drink type fundraisers. So, for example, some of the things that our school does, like the FFA does fruit. Music club, they do pasties. Okay, so there would be 2. Bundt cakes are done, the cake rolls. So we decided to leave that at 1 because our policy currently states that that is approved by the school administration. So it's at their discretion. So that's why we didn't want to make any of those changes, because those groups use those as their fundraisers. And we don't want to limit those groups in those areas. Moving into the nutrition education, NE2, NE3, NE4, those are all marked as 1 because of the fact that we do not teach health class at every single grade level. So for example, middle school gets it in 7th grade, high school gets it as sophomores. So not every 6th grade class gets it, not every 8th grade class. That's why we chose to leave those as 1. NE7, this one again, we left as 1, very similar to what the previous 3 were. This is kind of addressed in some of the agriculture classes. Again, it's not a school-wide, something that is taught in each of the classes. Moving to the physical education, physical activity, PE, PA 4, 5, and 6. Again, very similar to the health stuff. The reason we didn't change these is because our current wellness policy has numbers that work with what our current class schedules look like. For example, in order for those to be bumped up to a 2, all of our classes would need to get 150 minutes specifically in PE per week. If we were able to count recess time and all of like their activities and class breaks, yes, we might be able to move those up to a 2, but because it's specifically only PE class, we decided to keep those at 1s because schedules and everything, it's impossible to get every class in the gym for PE class for 150 minutes a week. PE, PA 11, addressing family and community engagement, again, is a 1. We address some of that, but we don't talk about specific activities. Again, when we brought up the idea of this newsletter, sending out quarterly newsletters, and then the wellness site on our school website, we're hoping to cover a little bit more in detail some of those items, rather than putting those specifics into the board policy. And then into the last 2 sections, this is where there will be some more changes in the wellness policy. EW1, EW2, these are both addressed in section C under, sorry, I've got my papers backwards here, under the district-wide nutrition guidelines, where it just talks about the district shall promote staff member participation and modeling healthy behaviors. It's just adding a little bit of wording in there to include just a little bit more specific detail rather than being so vague. And then also encouraging healthy eating and physical activity routines, so students are seeing staff follow the same thing that they're trying to preach. And then the last couple of items are under the integration and coordination. And these are both kind of very similar, addressing the establishment of an ongoing district committee. So that was just addressing the number of times that we need to meet per year. And then also specifying whether it is a elementary, middle, or high school committee. And we do a district committee. So we already had that in there. But just adding the number of times that we will be meeting. One of the other things too, when Janet had her audit earlier this school year, they had mentioned to her that we need to include how we reach school community members about being part of this committee. So we also had to incorporate some wording under the policy monitoring section in section B, that we will be using the school correspondence system, which is Bright Arrow. And then the very last change that is in there is that we are now using the Wisconsin local wellness policy, which is the WellSat versus the school health index. So those are all of the changes that we talked about and discussed at looking in that wellness policy. Any questions in regards? I know
You can see Tammy is very thorough.
Well, I just wanted to make
you.
sure we explained why some of those changes were in there, and they weren't just in there because we thought they needed to be.
Well, thank you, and especially to the community members that volunteered to be a part of this, looking at this so thoroughly.
What are these scores out of, like the comprehensiveness and strength scores?
So one of them is added up like total number wise. And then, so that's the total strength. And then the comprehensive, I believe that looks at where your score falls amongst other schools, and how thorough you are with everything that you've kind of included in there.
Do you know what the total possible score is for strength off the top of your head? I'm not expecting you.
I don't off the top of my head.
Just curious.
But then this wellness policy or the WellSat policy assessment will then be updated and put on our school website.
Any other questions? Hearing none, would someone like to move?
I'll move to approve the Cuba City School District Wellness Plan as presented.
I will second.
Schweigert,
Yes.
Joel,
Yes.
White,
Yes.
Hinderman, yes, Bowden,
Yes.
motion carried.
Thank you for all your work on that. Tammy.
Thanks, Tammy. Item J, approve the nickname for the Cuba City School District as Cubans.
Yes, we've talked about this many times just to get the direction. Like, I'm sorry, Jesse. If you guys saw me getting up and moving, my computer was at 1%. Apparently, I have a 2-hour battery. We're close on that 2 hours. So we've talked about that informally, but I think that should go to a vote as we're going through all this process. So this is just to keep the nickname as Cubans, based on our survey and the branding committee's recommendation to keep the word Cubans. This was recommended by far for students, the staff, and by parents.
Have you gotten any feedback from anyone specifically stopping in?
No one has reached out to say no. When we did this a couple of years ago, I did have some people reach out and say you can't change Cubans, and some people say due to cultural appropriation, you guys should not be using Cubans, and I got both of those. This time, I have not gotten anything about the nickname.
I will move to approve the nickname for the Cuba City School District as Cubans.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Schweigert,
Yes.
Joel,
Yes.
White,
Yes.
Hinderman, yes, Bowden,
Yes.
motion carried.
Item K is approve the district logo as presented.
Yes, and this is the same we talked about last Wednesday. I had it up there, but apparently it logged me off and turned off. But the logo, we've got multiple logos. So we've got the single shield with a C in it. And we've got that in 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 color options. So we'll have that. The other logo is the one that says Cubans through the shield. And we'll have those for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 colors as well as options. We'll actually have 2 of those. We'll have one that says Cubans, and we'll have one that says Cubans, and underneath it says Cuba City, Dickeyville, and Keeler. So all those would be options. People would be able to use those for whatever they want to use when they're appropriate based on color costs, if it's clothing, and just appropriate, just different for what those things are. So the colors that are on there as well, they're all Sherwin-Williams colors that all have a specific number. But when I did talk to our designers, they said they would get us multiple different formats with all those different options. So what we're approving is the Shield logo and the Cubans logo, but there's a lot of different options for those as far as color.
So do we have to approve all of these options?
We're approving just because I think
Is that one of the options then? Or is that a
Which
three?
one is that?
This is that option to flatten, so it's like all.
Yes. Yep, so that's the same design, the colors are we'll have different options for colors.
Okay.
The ones that we were like option
That's
3 and
not-
4, you guys said no, you didn't like those options because they look like a referee's uniform, if I remember correctly.
Yes.
So that's what we're approving.
Okay.
Anybody have any other questions?
Yeah. Questions or a motion?
I'll move to approve the district logo as presented.
Is there a second?
I will second.
Schweikert,
Yes.
Joel,
Yes.
White,
Yes.
Hinderman, yes. Bowden,
Yes,
motion carried.
Item L is approve the 25-26 Cuba City School District academic standards.
Yep, each year in the July meeting, we have to approve these. No changes have been made. We're not changing any academic standards. We are back to having our curriculum teams. And so some groups might look at that and for next July, make some recommended changes, but right now it's the same as last year.
If there are no questions regarding the standards, I will take a motion.
I'll move to approve the 25-26 Cuba City School District academic standards as presented.
I will second. Schweigert,
Yes.
Joel,
Yes.
White,
Yes.
Hinderman, yes. Bowden,
yes,
motion carried.
Moving on to personnel, item A is approve the hire of Cuba City Elementary School art teacher Kate Eshelman.
Ms. Eshelman was the candidate selected by both the teacher panel and administration, and we recommend that you approve this hire.
Are there any questions regarding this? Otherwise, we'll take a motion.
I'll move to approve the hire of CCES art teacher Kate Eshelman as presented.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Schweigert,
Yes.
Joel,
Yes.
White,
Yes.
Hinderman, yes. Bowden,
yes,
motion carried.
Item B is approve the hire of the Cuba City Middle School math teacher Daniel Merwin.
Yep, with the resignation of Mrs. Bell, we posted, interviewed, and selected Mr. Merwin along with a panel of middle school teachers, so we're all recommending that hire.
I will move to approve the hire of Cuba City Middle School math teacher Daniel Merwin as presented.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Schweigert,
Yes.
Joel,
Yes.
White,
Yes.
Hinderman, yes. Bowden,
yes,
motion carried.
Item C is approve the hire of Cuba City School District paraeducator Julia Blum.
This fills a position vacated by the retirement of Mr. Joe Blodgett and Mrs. Casper, and I recommend that we approve this hire.
I'll move to approve the hire of CCSD paraeducator Julia Flynn as presented.
I will second. Schweigert,
Yes.
Joel,
Yes.
White,
Yes.
Hinderman, yes. Bowden,
yes.
motion carried.
Committee reports.
All right, budget and finance. Megan, anything you wanted to add there? We last met in May. We probably won't meet again until the first draft of the budget
Right.
is done.
right, and we had primarily talked about the cash in lieu things that we went over tonight, so.
Okay.
Nothing to add there.
Buildings and grounds, Gary and Julie, or Gary's the chairperson, but Julie and Joe, you guys are on that as well. Anything from our last meeting? We met July 9th. We kind of went through
Everything
timeline.
has been gone over.
Yep.
with Brad.
Personnel, that's Gary, Dan, and Sarah. We were going to meet this Monday and we had something come up. We had to postpone that. We'll find a different date for that, but we'll start working with the teachers union and start working on salary increases and those types of things here in July and August. Policy, we'll be meeting next week, I believe. And then technology and transportation, we met on June 11th, talked about, this is year 3 that we're entering of Davis Bus Lines contract. We have the option to sign on for 3 and 4 with guaranteed max prices. And so I've sent those questions from there to them, and we'll meet again probably in September, October, and go through those answers, and then get moving with that one way or the other. Foundations, we meet every 6 months to go through that, so we'll probably meet again in either August or September. And Gary's not here for the season 3 report.
I'll take a motion to adjourn. I will move to adjourn.
I will second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you, guys. Have a good night. Thanks, Dan. Appreciate it.
What time's the policy meeting?